So for anyone who's never met him before, this is Sirius, my service dog in training. I made him come up here to make me a new intro for me, and he decided to hang out. So he's gonna help me make this video, huh? Right, Jeff? So this video is going to be about kind of my experiences as a child with being sick and in pain all the time. Because looking back now, I know that there were a lot of warning signs and like early symptoms of my chronic illnesses. But at the time, nobody realized that. And I think it led to a lot of people thinking that, you know, I was just kind of a baby, or that I was seeking attention by always pretending to be sick or hurt, or making a bigger deal out of things than they actually were. So I guess for a little bit of backstory, when I was a kid, like as a young kid, I was constantly hurting my legs, especially spraining my ankles. You know, like the smallest thing would happen, or my legs would actually give out. I didn't realize that's what was happening at the time, but looking back now, I know that it was. And I would fall and I would twist my ankles. And I would be in so much pain. And sometimes it would happen like every few weeks. And as a little kid, you're a lot more sensitive to pain than an adult, and pain seems a lot more life-threatening because you're not used to it. Pain is such a weird phenomenon. You experience it much more intensely. And that's why a lot of times kids make a big deal out of things. Not because they're making a big deal out of things, it's because they're kids and they're experiencing things in a way. I mean, like, you don't want kids to be used to feeling pain. You want that to be something that they're not familiar with. But it means that it can be really scary for them when they do experience it. And so pretty much I was on crutches a lot. I also, as I got older, started getting sick a lot. I would have symptoms of and this has continued to high school, I would have like symptoms of the flu but no fever. Mostly like chills, body aches, nausea. I'd start to feel dizzy and kind of unsteady. And I'd be super fatigued. All of these are symptoms of fibromyalgia. But at the time, nobody really, like, noticed, I guess. My mom was really good about taking me to different doctors and having them run different tests to see if they could figure out what was going on, why I was always getting hurt, why I always felt not so good. But most of the doctors, I think, just kind of brushed it off, as they tend to do with kids, until eventually I started being so embarrassed about the fact that I was always feeling awful, and I started getting bullied in 4th grade when I actually did break my leg, but people didn't believe me because I was always getting hurt. I had on a walking boot instead of a regular cast, and people insisted that if my leg was actually broken, I'd have a real cast. And as a 4th grader, that's really hurtful when you're in pain and people are saying, oh no, you're just faking. You just want attention. Because I have always been the kind of person that doesn't like excessive attention. So, like, dealing with that was really hard for me. And by the time I reached high school, I had started to learn that pain was just a part of my life, and that there was no reason for telling people because the doctors weren't going to find anything, and everyone else was just going to see me as making a big deal out of nothing and attention seeking. So I went from going into the doctors like every few weeks as a small kid to being in high school, falling down the stairs, breaking my foot, and refusing to go to the doctors until my mom forced me. Because at that point I was just like, I'm not going to go to the doctors unless I'm like dying. And that still continues to this day. I still hate going to the doctors. I still hate talking to doctors. I still hate talking about all of my physical issues because a lot of people don't I don't want to be seen in the way that I was seen as a kid. And it's also, it can really start to impede my life though, because if I'm having a bad day or I want to do something that's going to require a ton of walking or standing, those are the times when I kind of need my mobility aids, but I'm so embarrassed by using them that instead of going out and having fun and experiencing life with the help that I need, I'll just stay at home and not do things. And that's not really fair, and that's something I'm working on because I want to live my life to the fullest. And I shouldn't let other people's impressions of me dictate what I go out and do. But it does. I haven't even told some people in my family that I use mobility aids because I'm so embarrassed about it. And I'm just afraid that they're going to be like, oh, she's always made a big deal out of getting hurt and she's always falling. But, it is a physical disorder that I have no control over. And I try to push through as much as I can. But I can only do so much. Some other warning signs that I had when I was younger, that I now know are connected to my chronic illness, was severe migraines. I started getting them when I was probably 11, and by the time I finished school, they had gotten to the point that they were causing me to pass out at times. My mom had to take me to the hospital once to receive IV medication to try to stop it because I was in so much pain that I was literally just sobbing, and I couldn't stop. And so as I got older, the migraines got worse, the dizziness got worse. I was eventually put on a migraine medication, which helped. My migraines kind of went away for a while, and then recently they've been coming back. I've been getting them daily, and I'm trying to learn how to deal with them better. But I guess the thing I really want to come out of this video, I know I talked a lot about myself, but my main point for making this video is that when kids are in pain or sick, you need to listen. I know so many parents and doctors and teachers, that when they see a kid who is constantly sick or constantly getting hurt, they just completely invalidate them by thinking it's not a big deal, or they're making a bigger deal out of it than they actually are, or they're seeking attention, or they're making things up. But the thing is that, like I said, kids experience pain much more intensely than adults. And that does mean that they're going to have more severe reactions to smaller injuries, but that doesn't mean that their pain isn't valid. And if your child is constantly complaining of the same kind of pain, constantly getting the same injuries over and over, or constantly feeling sick in the same way, that's a sign that there's something chronic going on. And they need help. And, I feel like doctors are a really big culprit of this. Because, even now, because fibromyalgia is such a hard disorder to diagnose, and it's so different for everyone. I mean, there are people who can work 40-hour weeks and still go to the gym and hang out with friends on the weekends and seem 100% normal. And then there are people who can't get out of bed some days. But because it's so different for everyone, and because there's so many different symptoms and there's not a simple test to know for sure that that's what's causing it, it tends to just be blown off. Some doctors don't even believe that it's real, despite the fact that they've done studies and found differences in the bodies of people with fibro. It's a brain thing and a body thing. Your nerves are interpreting things in the wrong ways. I think technically it's a central nervous system disorder because it has to do with the way that your body processes stimuli and pain. But just because it has to do with things in your head doesn't mean that it's all in your head. And I'm not going to say that I never played hooky as a kid, and that kids don't sometimes pretend to be sick or hurt. But be safe rather than sorry. If your child is complaining about the same thing over and over, and the doctors seem to just be blowing them off, say something. Because letting a kid go through their entire childhood and adolescence experiencing severe physical issues and being told that it's all in their head, or that, they need to just deal with it or power through, teaches them that they shouldn't ask for help when they're struggling, whether it's mentally or physically. It teaches them that their pain isn't a big deal when it really could be. And the only way that doctors are going to know how to help people with these issues is if people come to them with these issues and say, I want to try to figure out something that's going to help me. So, just keep that in mind, and try to never judge a book by its cover. If someone seems like they're being a baby about something, or they're, like overreacting, try to remember that there are people, that everyone experiences things differently. And especially if you have some sort of physical disability, you are going to experience it much more differently than that. And you can't base what your reaction would be to something. You can't base your opinion of their reaction off of what your reaction would be, because you're not the same person. Thank you all for watching. I'm going to have Sirius come over and help me say goodbye. Pop!